This is a fairly long tip, but please bear with me. It's about putting contracts together for wedding photographers, and in some cases wedding vendors will be able to use the same things. Got my laptop with me. If you go onto my website, https www.andrew-miller.co.uk, scroll down to the bottom, click on terms and conditions. My terms and conditions are essentially there, section by section, along with a paragraph on what it means in real simple English. And that's an important part of thinking about what a contract should be. It must be easily understandable to whoever's trying to read it and agree to it. And that sort of goes in with the quick video that I did about contracts in the camper van a couple of days ago. So the first section of my contract basically covers names, contact details of my couples. Done. Yeah. So I then move into looking at the copyright, i.e. who actually owns the copyright of the photographs. And I'm going to read pretty much here. The Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1998 assigns the copyright of the images to the photographer. Me. You, as a photographer, own the copyright to the photographs. The couple own a personal license to reproduce the photographs. If you have a second shooter, you need to specify in the second shooter's contract who owns the copyright. And generally, if you are paying somebody to photograph on your behalf, i.e. a second shooter, you own the copyright, not them. But that needs to be specified in the contract. There's probably some case law around something similar, so even if it does get a little bit bitchy, there'll be case law there. Now, tip for couples, please do not give photographs to anybody else, any other wedding vendors, without checking with the prime photographer because of the Copyright Act. Many photographers these days will have a whole load of images that they'll regularly run through search algorithms to check and see who's stealing them. I frequently do, and if I find photographs that have been used by vendors without my permission, I get very annoyed and they'll get a really snotty letter. So there you go, that's number one. Another part of the contract should state what you are going to use the photographs for. So in my case, it's can I use them for marketing? Now this is the only part of my contract that I will either agree to or take out. And I will take it out if I have couples who are in the police force, the security services, working in children's services, potentially working with adopted children. I've had families who've adopted children, wasted time trying to put the photos online for safeguarding issues, potential DV issues, etc. So any reason, doesn't have to be one of those, a couple do not want their photographs online anywhere or to be used for a sample album, I just take it out. I'm not going to question it, and that's pretty much basic UK/European law. Licensing, coverage and reproduction, and this covers who holds what license, what I'm going to do, and more importantly the reproduction. So I use Apple Macs and Fuji cameras, so my colours may differ slightly if you're using a Windows computer. I make sure that all of my cameras, etc. and equipment is calibrated for the right colours. Your equipment at home and your TV that you're viewing it on may not be as accurate as mine, and that goes down into printing photographs from places like Sure Print, Snapfish, Boots, Tesco's. The colours from those laboratories may not be matched to the real colour of the photographs. Hence, you can buy laboratory type photos on my galleries. Yes, you pay more because the photographs will be colour matched. If you go to Boots, it might not be the right colour. So there's a section in there as well. Oh, where are we? Let's have a look. So in that part, I've got things like, this is a really good one. For a booking involving a church ceremony or at certain venues, the photographer's movements are sometimes restricted by the official in charge. At churches, the vicar may not be amenable to you wandering around taking photos willy-nilly. As a person of faith, I totally understand that. So you shouldn't do that anyway. Some photographers ignore that, and I've got a video hopefully coming out before the middle of the year on working with vicars. Some registrars don't want you wandering around either. Basically do what they say, don't make an arse of yourself. But if I'm restricted, I have to let my couples know that I'd be restricted, so that's a section in the contract. It's a really important section as well. So make sure you've got something like that in. If you give me lists of group photos, I'll try my best to follow those through. Sometimes I need to think about, I might need to change them. People are getting too cold. We might have people who are standing around too long, who can't stand too much. They might be a little bit dodgy on their pins. They might need walking sticks, etc. So yes, I'll follow the list as much as I can. However, you sort of have to let me have a little bit of leeway with regards to the pricing. Everything in my contract is priced. So I have all of my collections are priced and all of the extras are priced. Once it's in the contract, it's fixed. As a photographer, that's what you want to make sure that you're doing. Now, the reason I include all of my collections, regardless of which one the couple are booking, is that I like to think I'm a nice person. That if the couple come out and say, actually, Andrew, we want your top package, which I believe is about £1,500, they book me 2 years out, financial situation changes, the UK financial situation changes, the global stuff changes, lots of stuff going on in the world, as you can probably imagine. They may not be able to afford that. That's absolutely fine for me. They know that they can drop down. Or if they go for the lowest collection and they get some money as a present perhaps, they get a better job, they can just jump up the collection. You just pay the price difference. What you do in your contract is entirely up to you, but I allow that movement at no extra cost. I'm not bothered. I'm not going to hold somebody. You said you were going to pay £1,500, therefore you have to pay £1,500 when they can't afford it, because that morally for me doesn't work. You're putting them into a financial position that's really hard and struggling for them. But morals aside, that's what I do. Payments. Yes, if you don't pay me, I won't turn up to your wedding. Booking fees and the balances. So booking fees first off. The booking fee or deposit, whatever you want to call it, is a percentage of the balance. I think it's about 25, 26, 27% of mine. It shouldn't be excessive. Section on the contract, the video on the contract stuff, on the contract law is really important there. If it's excessive, it's an unfair contract clause. That is to basically have you and confirm your date, and therefore you turn other work away. That's what it's for. If a couple book you and then cancel within 14 days, that is absolutely refundable, no questions asked. After that 14-day period, there's a few other issues that come into place. That's why the booking fee deposit cannot be excessive. You would need to show, in the event it goes to court, that the amount that you have charged is appropriate to the amount of money you have been paid to service the contract to date. For smaller vendors, photographers, it's not too bad. For wedding venues, it can be a very problematic issue. I've had several couples who've changed vendors, changed wedding venues 2 years in advance after booking, a venue. I'm not going to go into which, but if you're in South Wales, you probably know what I'm talking about. So they booked the venues, they've cancelled their wedding, which is in 2 years, but the venue has still insisted that they will keep the £2,000, £2,500 booking fee. That's an excessive amount to keep because it doesn't cost them £2,500 to service the contract. Therefore, it's an unfair contract clause. So have a think about the payment. Essentially, I will send you an invoice out to my couples and I'll tell them when the dates and that is, and I send my invoices out about 6 weeks before the wedding date. The invoice is due 4 weeks before. That's 4 weeks. If you're struggling, please let me know. I can deal with it at my end. Otherwise, I'll send another invoice out and then another invoice out, and I will turn up to the wedding and I will ask for payment. If you don't pay, I'm going to walk off. Sorry. I have a mortgage, I have car payments, I have food to put on the table, just the same as everybody else. I'll come down to cancellations in a moment. Where are we? Force majeure. Oh God, if you're old enough to remember COVID, this is one of the things that we heard about. Shit happens during the day. Shit happens during life. That sometimes means that I may not be able to photograph your wedding. That clause is in there to cover that. Things like COVID happened, which essentially meant that the majority of contracts were null and void because they couldn't happen, that's included in there. Also things like if I die, whoever's looking after my business, and I got a nice sort of A4 folder with all of those details in, they will find a suitable photographer, so you don't have to worry. If I break a leg and I can't work, I will find a suitable photographer. So it's little things like that that goes along with it. What it is, liability for digital files and products. What happens if these things are essentially electromechanical? They will break down at some point. Hard drives break, laptops break, memory cards fail. That particular clause should cover you in the event of it failing. And again, if you look on the details, it will tell you what my liability is if I have a catastrophic failure. Part of my workflow I will talk you about another video. If you've got your photos online, they need to be downloaded. There has to be a time frame in there. So I, as a photographer, will pretty much keep my photos online until I'm dead or retire. Some photographers will only keep them online for 6 months. That needs to be specified. If you're going to charge people to keep them online for longer, that needs to be in. If you're going to charge people to re-upload them, that cost needs to be in as well. Scrolling down, this particular section I put in, I think in 2013, after an issue with a bride and a groom. Liability for clients' personal effects, belongings and general health and safety. It's my couple's responsibility to look after their own belongings, end of, period. However, I'm a nice guy. I like to think of myself as a helpful person. If it's easier for me to put bags and stuff in my camper van to transport them from one house to the venue, that's absolutely fine. They will go in, they will stay there, I will not touch them, but it is still your responsibility. I'm not accepting responsibility for that. Health and safety, if I'm working outside of somewhere, i.e. a venue or a church or a registrar office, and I'm in somebody's house, I think it's incumbent upon whoever owns the house to make sure it is safe to work in, and that covers physical safety and personal safety as well. So yes, I will follow as much health and safety common sense as I can, but if I do trip over a loose stone on your patio and I fall over, hurt myself, break a camera, I will probably make a claim against the house insurance because of that, because I shouldn't have to fall over on things like that. But I'll make sure that I do all of my health and safety that I would normally do anyway. Never happened, by the way, but you never know. Cancellation fees, etc. I have a rolling charge, so I'm going to talk you through that. You've paid the booking fee, so there's just the balance left. Less than 28 days before the wedding date, I will charge you 65% of the balance. Notice it's not the full 100% of the balance that's due. And again, that's part of the contract law, not being excessive and being fair. If it's between 29 days and 84 days, I will charge you 35% of the balance. If it's 85 days plus, I'm just going to take it off. Doesn't matter, because the chances are I can probably have the day off, or I'll be able to rebook it by re-advertising it. Your booking fee will be lost, and that booking fee again goes into servicing the contract, pre-wedding shoots, storing your wedding photographs, etc, etc, or storing your pre-wedding photographs. You do need to do that in writing to me, by the way. Sending me a text message or an email, etc, is good, but I really prefer it in writing so that we've got a hard copy, so there's no confusion. Placing goods, orders, etc, you need to tell me what you want, any extras, so that I can invoice you. I will only invoice you for any extras when I send them to print. So yes, you might want to go from a smaller album to a larger album. I'm not going to charge you that until we've got the design sorted out and I send for print. So there's a little bit of time there. Nothing belongs to you, the couple, until the photographer has been paid, essentially. Even if I get that larger album and I send it to you, if you haven't paid for it, you still do not own it. I do, so you've got to pay for it. Another section, section 14 on my website, data protection, privacy. You'll have noticed there's a pop-up on there. I've got privacy notice down. I get a lot of very personal information when I'm meeting couples, whether I go on to book them or I don't. That information is of a nature that if it falls into the wrong hands, it could end up with your house being burgled perhaps when you're away on honeymoon. Hence, I take my data protection very, very, very seriously. Don't share it with anybody else. I've moved from printing contracts out to now storing them online. I have very long passwords for all of my IT kit, my laptops, etc. Pretty damned near too hard to break into, so it's all secure. The online storage system that I use, again thinking about the EU GDPR laws, is data protection GDPR compliant. I think that came in about 2016, 2017, so I've done all of that research. It's all done protected. Next, governing law. I live in Wales, although I'm a Yorkshireman, so I'm technically English, but the law is English/Welsh. Laws in Scotland differ ever so slightly, so if you're a photographer in Scotland, put that down. If you're in Northern Ireland, not 100% sure. You'll have to do your own research on that. Where else? Oh yes, insurance. I have a section on insurance. This is telling you, the client, to get wedding insurance, because I still need paying. Meals and refreshments, yes please, put that in there, because you want to be fed if you do as many hours as me, so 14, 15, 16 hours perhaps, please feed me. Whether it's a supplier meal a venue will do, whether or not it is a packed lunch that I'm asking for, put that in there, put it in the contract. On the day, you are the only official photographer. Happens once where another photographer turned up who was hired by, I think, mother of a groom, and it's just a clash. So that photographer wasn't aware, I wasn't aware, it's just a bit of a nightmare, but I'm the only photographer. Some DJs will take photos, etc., so that they can show them during the dancing part. Please let your DJ know, I don't mind that, but not during the first dance, because the DJ is going to get in the way. If the DJ does get in the way, I'm not photoshopping them out for you. You will pay for that. Guests, I don't mind guests taking photographs at all. They're absolutely fine. But if they start to get a little bit obnoxious and get in the way, I will deal with that very nicely and professionally, and if not, I'll tell them to bugger off. Oh, what this means, done. I've got a section on delivery time frames, so when I will deliver your final wedding gallery, when your album designs will be done, refreshes of your album designs, how long it takes for your albums to get to you. Mine are based on my workflow. Put yours in as you see fit. Nearly there, keep it going. Wedding deadlines, you have in my contract 4 months from the date you get the photographs back to when I need the photographs for your wedding album. If not, I'll assume you don't have a wedding album and give you the money back. What you don't want is clients hanging around not choosing wedding photographs for years on end. There's also a postage cost in there for sending the albums via Royal Mail, UPS, FedEx to your couples, and there's also issues in there around making sure that you get the photos in the right order to me. So a whole lot on wedding deadlines. Replacement products, this is actually quite old looking at my contract, because I talk about DVDs and CDs and USBs, and I hate USBs. I've not used a CD or a DVD for about 18 years, to be perfectly honest. If you want one of those, you lose it, it'll cost you money to get another one. So that needs to be in, especially if you're giving USBs out. Album designs, if you are being really, really fussy, and I sort of want you to be fussy, it's that you want to get the perfect album, I'm going to charge you for every time we make a change to the album design. If you go, I like it in colour, send you the draft, you change it that image to black and white, that's fine, you then change it to colour again, I'm going to start charging you for every single time you change it. So try and get it absolutely right. Personally, I try and do everything online to keep the costs down, but if it's easier for me to come to you, I will. As a photographer, you need to sort of think about how you will work with that, but certainly think about charging and put the charges down and the costs for the album design if there's more than 2 or 3 refreshes of the album. Image manipulation, this is a really big one for me. I do not believe in doing any digital cosmetic surgery. Tits are not going to get bigger or smaller, waists are not going to get bigger or smaller, same with bums, not going to happen. Very personal thing for me. If you have things that are there that shouldn't be there, so you might get a couple of stress spots, I'll take those out. Guys, if you get a really close shave, you might get a bit of a shaving rash, red skin underneath your neck, under your neck, underneath your chin. I'll take that out. But that needs to be there. So you need to tell your couples what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and what the costs will be. I think my cost is £125 per hour or part thereof, and I can probably do about 4 photographs, retouch 4 photographs an hour, give or take. So as a couple, you need to think about that really carefully. As a wedding photographer, put that pricing in. Use of drones by other wedding suppliers. This mainly is videographers. I have no problem working with videographers, no problem working with drones, etc. Please make sure the videographer is insured for drone use. I really don't want to get some really great footage of you with a drone landing on your head and blood gushing everywhere, because the blades on a drone are quite sharp. They need to be insured, so that's just in there to cover my back as well. Very close. Bridal prep. What should you wear during bridal prep? And there's a little bit of sort of suitable clothing. Make sure that you can take whatever you're wearing on the bottom half over your head really easily, or it's buttoned. You don't want to upset your hair and makeup artist by taking a tight t-shirt off and faffing. I've lost the microphone. Keep going, this might not work. So, sorry, just lost the microphone. I'll keep going. Yeah, so if you've got a tight shirt on, a tight top on, it needs to come over your head. That might not work so well with your hair and makeup. It might damage it, so make sure of that. The other thing for me is it strapped or strapless, the dresses and the bridesmaids? So think about your bra strap marks. Drop your bras down so we don't get the bra strap marks, because it saves photoshopping it. Amendments to this contract. I may occasionally amend the contract. You basically won't be out financially. Things happen, things change, so put something like that in. And that's about it, really. If you want a copy of it, it's on my website. If you want a copy without what this means, just message me. I'm quite happy to share it. Proviso is you, the photographer, need to get it checked by a qualified solicitor / barrister / legal person.